Elsewhere today, we saw the government's plan to re-nationalise Britain's railways take another big step forward. For the first time under Labour, a train operating company was brought under public control, South Western Railway. Its trains were running today with Great British Railways livery. Great British Railways coming soon, it said on the side of the trains. The first such train left Woking in Surrey on time at 5:36 this morning, although passengers heading for London Waterloo had to change to a rail replacement bus because of engineering work. The government is planning to take control of the other operators still in private hands as their contracts end between now and 2027. Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander was at Waterloo. She says today is a landmark moment.
Let's be honest, most people don't spend a lot of time thinking about who owns what bit of the railway, but they do want trains that work, and they want the government to put the passenger first and not the shareholder.
Let's speak to Ellie Harrison, who is founder of the campaign group Bring Back British Rail. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Your thoughts today?
Well, obviously this is a step in the right direction. I've been campaigning for the last 16 years to bring our railways back into public ownership, to reunify them essentially, so that they just aren't the confusing mess, expensive mess that we've had during privatisation. So this announcement today is a little step in the right direction, but we're looking at probably another 3 years before the next piece of legislation is passed and Great British Railways is actually set up to bring all those elements of the railway back together.
You say the railways are expensive and confusing. Can you guarantee that this is going to result in a cheaper railway and a less confusing railway?
Well, it's not down to me to guarantee it. I'm hoping the government is going to deliver it, but there's still a lot to play for in the Railways Bill. We haven't seen the detail of that yet. The government published a public consultation earlier this year that closed in April. We haven't seen the results of that. But from the consultation document, there are some worrying signs that it possibly won't resolve all the problems that I'd like to see resolved, because despite all of the news headlines saying that they're bringing the railways back into public ownership, they say that they still want to maintain an ongoing role for the private sector in the railways, even when Great British Railways is set up. So that means things like the open access services may continue. We will have various different ticket retailers, and a lot of the fragmentation and a lot of the confusion could continue under Great British Railways unless the government does not persist with that idea, and we can just have a simple, unified, publicly owned ticket retailer and publicly owned rail services to make it simple for passengers to get around.
The railways are quite expensive, aren't they? And they have been made more so by the fact that passenger numbers are not what they were pre-pandemic, are they? There's not the same level of revenue coming in. That's a bit of an issue, isn't it?
Well, yeah, there have been problems on the railways since the pandemic, but they were definitely problems before. I mean, the railways under the privatised model cost about 3 times more in public subsidies than they did as British Rail just prior to privatisation. So it has been a really inefficient way of privatisation, has been a very inefficient way of running the national rail network. And the government have said that even just bringing South Western Railways into public ownership today is going to save over £150 million just in the fees that they were paying to the private operator first to run that service. So there's lots of savings that can be made through bringing the individual services back into public ownership as they expire. But the greater savings are really going to come from reintegrating everything, and that's what the next piece of legislation is going to do. It's going to create the Great British Railways body, which will bring together the track maintenance with all of the rail service operations. But the crucial thing that we're campaigning for is that that's where it stops. We do not want to see a continued role for private operators on the railway, because it's just going to continue to allow profit to leak out of the system from profitable routes where the open access operators like to run. And it will just mean that we haven't got that uniform, coherent service across the country, which is what I would love to see.
Yeah, and passenger experience is going to be critical, isn't it, to how this is perceived as having gone?
Yeah, I think so. And I think in the immediate term, we're not likely to see very much change, unfortunately. We're in this for the long haul, and that's because the Railways Act of 1993 that created the privatised system was so incredibly complicated, essentially broke the railway up into hundreds of little pieces, which this piece of legislation is hopefully going to put back together in a coherent way. So it is a complex piece of work, and there's it will. We don't quite know when it's going to appear in Parliament, but I imagine it will probably take at least a year to get through Parliament and be enacted, and then creating Great British Railways after that will be another couple of years as well. So I hope that passengers will be patient, and that we will all start to see the railway start to improve in the long term, and for the government to be able to use the railways to help build the economy by bringing down fares and, encouraging more people to use the rail rather than driving. Like, they'll be able to do similar things to what they now have in Germany, where it's always been publicly owned as Deutsche Bahn, the railway, but they have now this Deutsche ticket, which is €58, and you can go anywhere you want to on the railway for a month for just €58. And the idea behind that is obviously climate related, to get more people using the railways instead of driving. And in the long term, our government should be able to introduce policies like that and use the railways really as a tool for economic growth and a tool for meeting our climate targets. And that's how they should be used, with all the public subsidy that goes into the railways now, currently under privatisation, and that will continue to go into the railways when they're publicly owned. We really need to see public benefit for that public investment.
Ellie Harrison, thank you for joining us. The founder of the campaign group Bring Back British Rail, South Western Railway, taken back into public ownership today. The first train operating company to be taken back under public ownership under the Labour government.